Hello, welcome to Star Wars Spelt Out. I'm your host, Josh Chapman, and today, taking a detour. We're all about the detours this week. You think something's going to happen, you get a little bit of a detour. So, no cousin Eli this week. He went to the movies with his mates. He has a life outside of podcasting with me. And I forgot that I was going to the soccer tonight, so we couldn't record later in the evening. So now we're just sort of in the sort of late afternoon here. And coming in to step in, help out as always, Catherine Kneen. How you going, mate? The call came out. We just burst through the butcher's like plastic thing and
answered the call.
Yeah. So it was good. I thought, no getting a quick podcast reactions out better than no podcast reaction. It's not quite the minute after it's come out. Sorry, everybody, but still pretty good. This was something.
Yeah, I super enjoyed it. I mean, it wasn't Book of Boba Fett, but I enjoyed it, so I've got no complaints.
Was this the Coach Beard episode of Ted Lasso? We're just following Beard. Coach Din's just Coach Beard. He's off on his own little adventure. It was almost kind of like how I spent my summer vacation. It was almost like a little backstory. Like, hey, remember your mate, the Mandalorian? Here's all the crazy hijinks he's been getting up to, like while this other story's been going on.
Yeah, and I loved it. It was great. It was good fun. Good Star Wars.
Yeah, well, we'll get into the meat and potatoes in a second. But obviously they were going to have him after the little sting last week, and I thought, okay, they'll bring him in. But I certainly wasn't expecting a whole episode just devoted to him.
No, definitely not. That was not my bingo card. I was expecting to sort of see him, and even in the opening, I was just waiting for he'll get a holo call from Fennec any minute. Any minute we'll get a holo call. And
I'm on my way.
No.
Although now we realise he has to fly commercial airlines. He can't just jump in his ship and be there always. All right, well, I've got to get on Skyscanner, and I've got to find a good price and check my points and do all those annoying things.
Yeah. Is it a bus or a train or a plane? Is he Greyhound busing it, do you think?
It looked pretty nice.
Yeah.
It looked pretty nice. I was I saw someone online going is this a subtle ad for that galactic airliner tour thing, where you pretend that you're on a spaceship? And is that just what you do? You just sit in a chair and look out a window while some Disney park person in a Greedo mask looks over you from the seat?
Well, this looked in some ways fairly short haul because everyone just had a seat. One compartment. It wasn't there was sleepers or a bar area, anything like that.
Yeah. So he gets his sort of intro at the start, and it's in a butcher, an abattoir basically kind of thing, isn't it? Yeah. They've got all the meat hanging down the thing, and Mandalorian front and center shows up straight away, and he's basically just back on the job. So it's kind of weird because people, I think when I was on with Hawes and Will, they were sort of talking about where we might see him. And he'll be out looking for Mandalorians, trying to, bring up start the revolution. Now he's got the dark. He's just back on the job, basically.
Yeah, well, it sort of makes sense in the idea of, he doesn't really have that connection to Mandalore. He's got a connection to a certain group of Mandalorians.
The nutbags.
Yeah, and he'd want to find them. But it's a bit of, I don't really care, I'm not in this cause of reuniting Mandalore or whatever. I just want
it kind of makes you wonder what happened after the end of Mandalorian season 2. Luke Skywalker turns up, takes Baby Yoda. And is there just some kind of weird sort of conversation about guess we'll be going then? can someone drop me off somewhere? I don't have a spaceship anymore. We've got Moff Gideon's ship. He doesn't seem to have that. He didn't sell it. Like that ship must have had some other craft and things. Like, does he? He obviously wants one that's off the grid. But you would have thought just for getting around, you could have grabbed something.
Yeah, surely, because Boba Fett wasn't on the ship at the end.
No,
but Fennec Shand and Mando were. So, Boba Fett might have had to come and pick up Fennec. Did he pick up Mando as well? But yeah, surely Mando could have grabbed a shuttle or something, taken it to what's her name, the mechanic, gone, okay, how much for parts of this, and then find me something.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that did happen in between, but it just seemed weird that he was just sort of back on the job and kind of like gotten a bit brutal. Like, now without Baby Yoda kind of keeping him in check, he's kind of gone off the deep end a little bit, hasn't he? At least the first half of the episode, he was pretty, cold. He sort of warmed up when he got to Tatooine, no pun intended, but...
Yeah, he's just like, God, I can't believe I'm dealing with all this rubbish again. Just...
It's like he's just kind of gone back. He's gone back to zero. Like he's sort of like he's got the Darksaber, which kind of just means he's awkwardly kind of throwing it around in fights and stuff, and cutting his own leg and things. But it also means that he sort of becomes a bit more impatient on, rather than try to work his way through the bounty and stuff. He just walks into a room with like 20 dudes. He's like, well, if I have to chop everybody in half, then I'm just going to do that rather than I'm going to use a little bit of craft here to get this dude.
Yeah, he's got enough aggravations in his life. He doesn't have his own car. He's got to, take public transport everywhere. He hasn't got his friend, and he can't find, the people that he wants to hang out with. He's just like, oh, you all give me the irrits. Let me chop your head off.
Yeah, he said like a little bit of a man who's had a rough couple of months by the sound of things. That he's sort of, like you said, he's lost his mate, he's lost his car, he's got a few bucks, but he's kind of a guy without a purpose. So it sort of feels like he goes, all right, well, I guess I'll just go back to hunting bounties and I'll go start looking for the Mandalorians again. Like I'll start looking for the covert and kind of go with that.
Yeah. On a very cool looking space station.
It was
really
a bit like,
cool.
Have you seen Elysium? The Neil Blomkamp movie with Matt Damon, and they're like all the rich people live in like something above the planet.
It's a movie I should have seen because Diego Luna's in it.
Oh, well, bro, how have we missed this? How have you missed that one? I thought you've just been working your way through the IMDb.
I should.
Right, there you go.
I think it's one that's not easy to stream.
Hang on, let's find out right now. Let's do some live Elysium streaming Australia. Here we go. Let's have a look. Elysium. There it is.
Not available on
Netflix.
Your streaming service.
Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
Right.
Okay.
No excuse.
I think I've seen bits with him in it, and he's not in it a lot. But yeah.
Right.
Okay.
you got the Diego cut. You went to the Diego fan page and said, all right, just show me the scenes. Show me the Diego edit. Yeah, so basically he goes, he gets the bounty, he just takes the head. Well, I suppose if he doesn't have a car, he can't take the whole thing and chuck him in the back of the car. He's just like, well, this head's more efficient. Like, even if the guy had gone willingly, what would have he done?
Yeah. Well, I suppose the people who wanted him were on the same station, so... Was
he already on that station, was he? Yeah, he must have been. Yeah, okay. Yeah. For some reason, I thought that he'd left and arrived there, but that doesn't make sense, does it? Because he's just got there. Yep.
Yeah.
So
he's just wandering around, going into lifts with a head dripping blood.
Yeah, it's just like with that dude sort of awkwardly going, something's going on here, which is a bit shonk. And he turns up at the nightclub. He basically says, I'm not here for credits. I'm not here to chit chat. I just want information. And he gets a whiff that that there's some Mandalorians on the station. Hunts them down, and it's the armorer, and is it Paz Vizsla? The big guy? The big guy. Yeah. The like $70 Black Series one.
Yeah. Yeah, the Paz Vizsla, because they're all like, it was pre-Vizsla in the Clone Wars, and the one who way back when.
Current Vizsla, yeah.
Yep.
yeah, then he turns up and they don't seem overly fussed to see him. Really, he kind of, he says, "I'm here. Did my mission." And then they kind of just like, oh, all right, well, you've got the Darksaber. Also, you've got that spear. You can't have that. Give us to that. We're gonna melt that down. I thought they're kind of dicks to him, really.
Yeah, I thought the spear would, like melt down your spear. Come on, that's handy. That's handy to have.
Yeah, I feel like they're just like, well, you can give us that spear. We could use that. Yeah, so then they sort of get a Mandalorian history lesson, and the armor sort of breaks it up. She sort of talks about how they sort of the Earth got scorched and all that kind of stuff, and then the Darksaber basically, and what the deal with it is, and then he does a bit of training and stuff with it. And he doesn't really know what he's doing. He's sort of heaving it around.
Yeah, and it was interesting. They were saying, or he was saying, it's getting heavier. It's getting heavier. So it's why? And she's like, you're fighting it. Okay. So does this mean he has to tap into the Force or just understand where it wants to go?
Does it have a sort of momentum to it, I suppose, or sort of, yeah. I don't know. I mean, it feels like that's planting the seed for something later on, obviously. But then, of course, that sort of butthole Vizsla guy is like, I want that thing. I'm going to fight you for it. And then they have this scrap on, like, no jetpacks, no guardrails, hanging above space, duking it out.
Yeah, I hate Vizslas. Just a whole lot of them.
Yeah, they're all a bunch of dicks, really. Yeah, and then they kind of go through that, and of course, Mando wins, and that's all sort of done. And then there's like this really bit where she's just like, "So, has anybody removed their helmet lately?" And
Awkward silence.
Yeah, he's just like, humana. So he's cut, and then they're like, "Well, you're not a Mandalorian anymore." It's. Yeah, I don't think he'll go. I mean, they're kind of like, you got to go to the mines of whatever and purify yourself. Like what's that one in Purple Rain? You got to swim in the lake, the purifying waters of lake whatever. Anyway, I can't remember the reference. To be forgiven from Mandalorian, blah blah. Like, I feel like he's just going to be like, you know what? I don't need this anymore.
Yeah, I got told. Bo-Katan told me that you're a cult.
Yeah, and you're telling me Bo-Katan's, rubbish. You're all just like, I'm just sort of stuck in the middle here between you guys all bad-mouthing each other.
Yeah. So I think, him and Boba Fett actually have, more in common. That, okay, they'll both... Well, Jango Fett was a foundling. Din Djarin's a foundling.
Yep.
And they don't really stand on either side. They're the centre.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of that of just... It's interesting because I think if they just had the episode and it had been a Book of Boba Fett episode and, there was like whatever, the first 10 minutes or 5 minutes is just Boba in the palace again and they're talking about, fortifying or armies or whatever, and Fennec turns up and she's like, look who I found. It's like, ooh, 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 ooh. And he just turns up and he's like, I'm here. You'd want to know like what he'd been up to and like what he's been doing and where he's at, I think. So I think it'll contribute to what he does, going forward. And if he's a presence in these next couple of episodes, and then it'll sort of launch off into the series 3 of The Mandalorian, you won't have to kind of go through all that backstory shoe leather. Yeah. Like by the time they get to the Book of Boba Fett, like I feel like he'll have a very clear purpose.
Yeah, we'll know. And it's all... Like the Book of Boba Fett is, a spin-off of The Mandalorian. So we're going back to The Mandalorian for a little bit. And now we're back to where they go together.
I'm a bit surprised that, are they going to go back to Grogu? Are they really going to do it? Do you reckon?
Not in Book of Boba Fett. They'll save that for Mando.
But he did say that he wants to go and see his little friend before he goes and helps out Boba Fett. So
yeah. But could that be like in The Mandalorian proper?
I guess so. But then I'm assuming he's going to turn up in Book of Boba Fett in the next episode at least, or at least the last episode. Maybe he turns up the last, and they're just going, oh, how did it all go? And we're just going to go like, I don't want to talk about it right now. Like, he could just get there and Grogu's just moved on, and do we get another CGI Luke Skywalker again? Like, do you go back to the well on that? And it's not as just impactful if he just goes, "Hey, I need to talk to Grogu," and Luke's like, "Yeah, all right, I suppose you can do that." Like,
yeah.
Well, the guy who, sorry to interrupt, Catherine, the guy who
Luke could give him Darksaber instructions, like Kanan taught Sabine.
That's true. You get a lot more Luke. They could have perfected that model. Well, the guy at the end, well, I know we're jumping ahead to the end, but the two X-Wing pilots, one was the bloke from Kim's Convenience, who's been in there a whole bunch of stuff, and the other guy was the Hamill double. So he was the guy.
Was it?
Yeah, so he was Captain Handsome, who was the guy who was the stand-in for Luke Skywalker. Yeah, I just read that this morning.
Wow. I hadn't seen that. That's cool. It is cool because his face was pretty obscured by the goggles and other things.
And I think he had a bit of facial hair or something, maybe a little bit too.
Yeah, you couldn't get a good look at his face, but that's cool.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So maybe he's already on the set doing stuff. He just happens to be around, mocapping some Luke.
Yep. Or and they're going, right, we'll give you a role where people can see your actual face. Although, to be honest, if they made him Luke, like thinking back to the gallery episodes from last year, it's like he's pretty close to Luke. He's pretty good.
I mean, they already said that they synthesized Hamill's voice, so it wasn't Hamill doing the voice. I mean, he was doing the performance, but maybe they just asked Mark Hamill, and he's like, Mark Hamill's like, you've got it, just do it, like mocap him, put my face on. If there's anything that I desperately don't like, just let me know. But I don't need to be there. Get him to do the performance, and you've already got the CG Luke face out, on the hard drive. Just swap it over. Potentially, would you? I would. I didn't even think that when they did Luke originally that Mark Hamill was doing the performance. I thought he might do the voice and maybe he'll consult or something like that. So I'm quite comfortable if they get this dude to play Luke and Hamill just approves it or whatever. But maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
I prefer that than Sebastian Stan. At least it looks like Luke.
Yeah, like the Sebastian Stan, I don't think he looks like Mark Hamill, whereas this guy, I think, actually does look quite reminiscent.
I think after this Pam and Tommy thing that's about to come out where Sebastian Stan plays Tommy Lee, and I think you see quite a lot of it. Maybe it's not appropriate for Luke Skywalker anymore from what I've read some of the reviews on. So basically, he leaves the compound or whatever, and it's not really explained. I'm just trying to remember. Is it sort of explained why he leaves? He's kind of. They just say, you got to go to, you got to go to the mines of Mandalore now and sort of purify yourself, and then he just takes a commercial airline again to Tatooine, which I thought was quite interesting. I'm like, that's at the moment I'm like, was he going straight there? Maybe he'd been contacted on the way, but. He goes through the whole thing. He's got his bag checked. It's just,
Do you have anything to declare?
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. He has to put all these weapons in the little box and stuff.
With the robot from Star Tours. Like the pilot from Star Tours, yeah.
So
cool.
That's a nice little touch. And, he arrives at Tatooine. And Tatooine, I saw some sort of Discord online like, oh, look, like Tatooine... was supposed to be the arse end of the galaxy, and all of a sudden it's got commercial flights and stuff going to it. I'm like, yeah, well, Luke only said that, and he lived on a farm. I had a lot of relatives who lived on farms who lived an hour and a half from Melbourne, and they would say that it was the arse end of the world living on the farm. He probably just didn't get out that much. It's a big place.
Yeah, like a lot of country towns have train stations, and trains go there. So. Yeah.
What are you complaining about?
Why not?
And then we get back to the garage. We get back to, is it Pally? I'm just trying to remember her name.
Yes, yeah. Pally Motto.
Yep. That was awesome. I'm always happy to see her. She just gets better every time. And she was dropping some hot fire, just some of the gags and things, talking about how she used to date a Jawa, and then she's talking Jawa.
The talking Jawa was just amazing. It was brilliant.
I did like how she's going the Jawas don't necessarily just find stuff. You just tell them what they want, and they'll just get it from somewhere.
So you wonder whether Uncle Owen emailed the Jawas with these are the types of droids I'm interested in, and so that's why the Jawas showed up. It wasn't just a happened to come by. It was a this is what we've gotten.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like an ice cream van that just does the rounds every day and just goes like, all right, we drive to the 50 farms and it takes us a month to get around, and we basically, part of our journey is that as we pick crap up off the thing, or is it more that they're on, like you said, a demands-based kind of thing? It's like, oh, we know that the Lars need a couple of droids. We managed to find a couple of droids. We'll go down there. But in the case of these guys, it was just like, here's a shopping list of what we want. Just take it from wherever. Just don't let them know that we wanted it.
Yeah, don't ask too many questions.
Yeah, don't ask too many questions. It's like, oh yeah, they just pulled it off the bottom of someone else's spaceship, and then we basically find the reason that he's actually there is that she's got like a new spaceship ready for him, and what are we talking here? What do we got, Catherine?
Now I have to admit, I was a bad Star Wars fan for a second. I went, is that a pod racer? I saw the shape of the engine.
I thought it was a pod racer as well. First I'm going, how's this going to work? This isn't going to help him.
But yeah, it's a Naboo starfighter, isn't it?
Yeah, the N1 or what do they call it? But just them saying Naboo and talking about the Queen and like all this sort of stuff, I'm like, oh, that is cool.
Yeah, and just bringing that design back, because it's a sweet design, so sleek.
Yeah, it looked so cool. I mean, my only complaint was that he didn't paint it yellow again at the end. I would have liked to keep the yellow, but I mean, all those people who were like, "Oh, the Razor Crest! I bought the Razor Crest toy," and then they blew it up. Like people going, "All right, we'll get that Black Series, get that HasLab, the Boo Starfighter. Now let's go."
Now in chrome.
Now in chrome. Although he can't really live on it though. It's not going to be like his other ship. Like, there's nowhere for him to sleep or anything.
No, and nowhere to put, like, carbonized people. But it's a start.
Yeah.
It's a start.
It's certainly a zippy little unit.
Yeah, like, so he can definitely start, taking some jobs and doing some things with that type of fighter, and then earn some credits and trade that in for something else.
Or at least, get another ship for habitating in, and then, keep that one out the back. That's like the joy, depends on the job kind of thing.
So he's got a caravan out the back, and he's got to hitch it to the starfighter.
Yeah, that's right. Or put it on the roof,
Yeah.
Well, he just needs he's a guy also that doesn't have, he sort of has no fixed address either, especially now. He was always kind of living in his ship, and it seemed like he kind of based himself out of that covert. But I don't think he's going back there. So
no.
I think he'll just be, whether he has a base of operations, but if he's got like a little house or something, he can just park the ship out the front, and it doesn't really matter. You could probably stuff the bounty in the back seat of it, or there's enough room to stuff them in, and then I guess if he's just taking the heads, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but what if someone picks warm?
Yeah, it's like, he's like, I'm bringing in warm or cold. It's like, oh, warm, I'll come quietly. He's like, it doesn't really work. I'm not really good for trunk space at the moment. I might just have to take your head.
Oh, yeah, that was just fantastic. And the montage of them building it I did enjoy, with all the little droids and.
He's cool on droids now too, isn't he? He's like, hey, little buddy, thanks, little man, help me out with that stuff. Like he's really come a long way. Like I know he's sort of mellowed by season 2 of Mando anyway.
Yeah, good old IG-11 paved the way.
Yeah, R.I.P.
No, IG-88.
Oh yeah,
bad Star Wars fan, Catherine.
I'm just trying to think what else happens really. So it's a funny one, isn't it? Like it's all sort of backstory. It's all kind of what he's been up to. I think they're laying the seeds for season 3. I think they're establishing that he's a man who's a bit directionless at the moment. Like you said, didn't have a car. Now he's got a car. He's kind of got
flies through Beggars Canyon.
I know. Well, that was the other thing, is that we kind of got half the pod race again. Like he was flying, which is weird. Like again, that's that sort of the geography. How far is Mos Espa from Mos Eisley? Because I always thought the pod race ran out of Mos Espa, so you'd think the track would have been near there, but I don't know.
Yeah, that is a very good question.
I might have to throw that one to Alex and Molly. Leave that to the experts.
He was flying for a bit before he got to there, didn't he? Because he's sort of.
That's true.
Yeah, and he's got a very fast ship, so.
Yeah. I'm sure that'll be who cares really? It's cool. So it was cool. Like I didn't have a problem. Sort of, it was kind of nice going like, oh, okay, well we're getting back to Mando, but I think it also means that like, the next there are 2 more episodes of Book of Boba left. Like this, the Pike's coming. All this this is the story. We're not sort of taking another left turn. And I guess the question is, you've had 4 episodes where it's been probably 50% maybe more backstory. Then you've had an episode with the Mandalorian, and then you've got this like, was there ever really enough story for a series? Have they had to pad it to do this, or is it just all part of the overall thing?
Well, I've just had a thought. Then, in a number of Doctor Who seasons, there's been, in New Who anyway, like episodes without the Doctor or very minimal Doctor. Mm-hmm. Blink, which is a fantastic episode, but that really doesn't have the Doctor in it. So this is almost that kind of equivalent. But, maybe this is why we're getting 7 episodes and not 6.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, potentially. And then it does also say that like it is all interconnected. It is all sort of intertwined. And I think also kind of going, well, like we said before, like if you want to bring Mando into this show at a certain point of time, and the last time you saw him was, Grogu's gone, Luke Skywalker's taken him away. And if he just sort of turned up at the end, you feel like there'd be a lot of questions going on and, motivations and all that kind of stuff like that. So I think that sort of, this puts a lot of that to bed. It's like, well, how did he get here? What's he up to? Where's his allegiances lie? What's his attitude? Where's the Darksaber? What's going on? Like all that kind of stuff got addressed.
Where's the little ball?
Yeah, where's the little ball? Is it in your pocket?
In his pocket with the little wrapped present in the shape of Baby Yoda.
So what do you think they made him? It looked like a little like chainmail or something. Did it look like?
Yeah, it looks like a lot of links that would be made for like chainmail. So
like a little vest.
See my vest.
It'd be funny if it was just like, if it wasn't that, but it was like underpants or trousers or something. Like he just squeezes into a little pair of like chainmail tidy whities or something.
Oh, so cute.
Well, yeah. Are we gonna see him? This is the question now. Like, I don't know. I kind of, I always sort of felt that maybe that Grogu's story was done. Like maybe that, and how would the show survive without him? A lot of the popularity came from him, and does it negate everything that's happened if he just goes back and sees him? I suppose it'll depend what happens. I suppose, but
yeah, but it's showing that Din is lost without Grogu. So he wants to see him. He has that attachment. It was interesting to hear the armourer talking about attachments, knowing about the rule of the Jedi, not allowed to have attachments.
That juxtaposition between, he says, like we're all about attachments and sticking together, and we're kind of at odds with the Jedi here, and we've handed him over to the Jedi. Like, is it going to be some friction? Is he going to basically be like, I made a mistake, I want him back? I don't, am I going to go there and visit Grogu and, Luke's putting him through his paces and he's not enjoying it, or he finds it's too harsh, or he's distant, like Grogu's lonely because Luke's, a little bit cold because he's trying to be a master, and
does Luke know the attachment rule? Is it in the sacred texts? But he didn't get very far reading those anyway. Yeah,
not exactly page turners or whatever it was, page turners they are. No. Yeah, well, we don't really know, and like, do we do that? Do they go down that road? So it does, but I guess at the same time, it's that whole thing of like, we're still in the Book of Boba Fett. If we get all this Mandalorian stuff in here, does it derail the story? Do you start to care more about what Grogu's up to than rather what Boba Fett's up to?
It's giving us a little tease for what's going to be coming in The Mandalorian Season 3. So I have to admit, I was holding on through those credits going, are they going to give us a little snippet, end of credits? But I think last episode, definitely don't switch off during the credits. Stay till the after credits.
The last episode. Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how they wind it up now. Like now that they're obviously running us into the Mandalorian. Like I'm assuming the Boba Fett side of it to a point to be resolved, but whether it's sort of like, hey, we're just amping up for the next thing now. Like this thing is just still going. It's sort of. Do you pivot to all of that, and is this Book of Boba Fett thing kind of done, and we move on, or do we go? If they do a season 2, are we back and forthing? Are we Mando season 3, Book of Fett, season 2, or so many questions. We'll see.
I have no answers.
No answers. Well, where are the answers, Catherine? Come on, I have to wait a whole week for answers. What is this?
Yeah, we'll just make up stuff and put it on YouTube.
Yep, we'll just record it from our cars with our sunglasses on. Cool. Well, I think we'll just wrap it up there. We'll put a nice little bow on this. Thanks for stepping in. And I haven't told Eli yet that I've recorded without him yet, but I'll let him know afterwards. I'm sure he'll be fine. So we'll either be back with him next week, or we'll be back with you or someone else. And then we'll figure out what we do for the last episode. We're already sort of talking about whether we have a little get together, get a little crew together and watch it somewhere. But we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
Anything you want to plug, Catherine, before we let you go?
I recorded an episode of That Geek Pod last week, so with Raj from the Sith List, so that's out there. Yeah.
Stay for the dad jokes. Cover the podcast, stay for the dad jokes.
Leave for Naboo.
Raj is I think I said this when he was on Spelled Out with me. He's very good because he doesn't have to steer the ship and negotiate the 7 other people who are on that podcast, so it's always good just to chat to him one-on-one where he gets to speak freely a little bit more without all the interruptions.
Yeah, so that's at That Geek Pod on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Catherine_Kneen on Twitter, where I'm counting down to Andor, even though I don't know how long it is.
When we get that date, look out, everybody. Get ready for the Andor recaps. You'll have to be doing your own Andor recap show. People will want to hear. Like, you can't be dovetailing off the back of someone else's. You got to be chairing these things. Or do you need someone to talk you through and get your reaction rather than you trying
to? You've seen me when I'm excited about things. Yeah, I don't talk. I cry, and it's just. So if you want like an hour of that.
I think that's what the people want. We'll find out as we get closer to. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for listening. We'll catch you next week. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you, Josh.
I'll see you soon.
Bye.